Welcome to this lesson. In this lesson, I'm going to teach you how to understand and use merge sort algorithm with JavaScript. We want to sort these items array. You can see that we have numbers that are not properly arranged. So we want to create an algorithm that will rearrange everything here properly. There are several ways to sort items, but in this case we are going to use merge sort algorithm. Let's get started with that. The first thing we want to do is to write a function that will merge two arrays. Let's just say const merge two arrays is equals to first half and second half. So these parameters, this one is an array and it will be the first part of this array, like let's say from 7 to 2. That is the first part, and the second part of the array will be 3 to 7. So we now have first half of the array and we have second half of the array. That is what we mean by that parameter. So let's continue with that. Then we first create a storage where we store the items we are going to be merging. So let's just do const merged arrays is equals to empty array because there is nothing there in yet. What we now want to do is to create a while loop, write a while loop, and we will check if the first half has items in it. If it has elements, then we want the loop to continue. Then we are using this AND operator so that the left side and the second side must be true before the while loop can continue running. So we now do second half dot length. So it means that first half must not be empty and the second half must not be empty. If one of them is empty, then the loop will not continue again, and that is what we are doing there. After that, we write an if statement and we pick the first item in the first half. Like by using this 0, we are selecting the first item in the first half, and we want to check if it is less than the first item in the second half of the array, in the second half, like that. So this one is checking if the first item in this array is less than the first item in this array. If that is true, then we are going to put the first item in this first array in this merged array. We now do merged arrays dot push. We are pushing it there. We now do first half dot shift. So the meaning of this is that this one will remove an item at the beginning of this first half array, and by removing it, then it will not be part of the array again, and by when it removes it will return it into this one. Then the item we removed will be put inside this match arrays. So it will be removed from first half, right, and it will be put in the what, in the matched arrays. So that is what this one is doing. And if the condition is not true, we want to put the first item in the second half array instead, like this: merged arrays dot push second half dot shifts. That means we are removing the first item in this second half array and putting it inside merged arrays. You know, when you use shift, the item will be removed from second half and the item will be returned. So when it is returned, then it will be dropped inside of merged arrays. That is how we do it. That is how we put it inside merged array. So why are we removing the item from the first half and the second half? We are doing that because if the array is not reducing in length, then the loop will continue forever. It's because we are only checking for the length of these arrays, the first half array and the second half array. So it's only when they are empty the while loop will stop. So that is why we are removing item from the first and second half, so that at a point in time the loop will stop running. We have done that. The next thing we want to do is that, we are comparing two things here. Let's say this first half has two items and the second half has three items. It means that by the time we have removed the two items in this one, then it will be empty, right? This loop will stop because both sides must be true, because this one will be empty and this one as an item. So the loop will stop because both sides must be true. So the loop will stop. And then we still have an item in the second half in that case. What are we going to do? We are going to spread it in an array like this. Return match two arrays and first half and second half. The meaning of this is that we spread the items in the merged two arrays. So this one is missing D. Let's put D here. So merged two arrays, we spread all the items in it here. So you know it has been arranged already. And this case too, if there is anything in this first half array we want to spread it to, and if there is anything in this one too we want to spread it. We are doing this in case one of them has items more than the other. So let's say this one has two and this one has three. By the time this one is empty, the loop will stop and the remaining in the second half will be spread here. But if it is this one that has three items and this one second half has two items, then by third iteration this one will be empty, this one will still have an item, and in that case we are going to spread the remaining item in here. That is why we do this, so that no item will be left out. That is why we are doing that. Let's check whether it works or not. Let's say console.log merged two arrays. Oh, sorry, there's something wrong here. This one is merged array, not two arrays. This one should be merged array. I used the function instead of the this one, so that's a mistake. So I've corrected it, so don't make that mistake. So okay, let's continue. We are now calling the function merge two arrays, and we now say the first array, this is the first half, we say 2 and 3, and we have this one to another array. The second half we have, let's say, 4 and 5. By that, it should merge this array together based on what we have here. If it is working, that is what it should do. If it doesn't do that, then something is wrong with that function. So let's check it out and see what happens. Oh, yes, it works. Can you see that? It works. We have 2, 3, 4, 5. You can see that it is working properly. Let's go back to the code. Let's make this one 3 so that you understand what I mean the other time. So let's make this one 3 and this one 2. Boom! Can you see that? Can you see? So everything is still there. So that is how it works. But if I don't spread this, you will see what happens. Let's check it so that you will see what I mean. Let's just return let's return the merge array alone so that you will understand what I mean if we don't spread it. Let's go back there and see what happens. Boom! Can you see that? You can see the rest are missing. So why is that happening? You see that? So something is wrong, something is wrong, something is wrong, something is wrong. That's it. Let's assume this one has an item that is bigger. Yes, one of these will be added or two of them will be added in this case. Let's check it out. Boom! You see? 2, 3, 4, 5. You can see that because that one has an item that is bigger than the one in the second array, and that is why that one works. So in order not to have this problem, that is why we do this, and you can see that it is necessary to do it. It will work properly now that we've done it the proper way. Let's check it for the last time so that we can move on to the main thing. Boom! You can see it is still working. Can you see that? So it's working properly. Now the next thing we want to do is to actually create the function merge sort function that will actually do the sorting and the merging. So that's the main thing we want to do now. Let's go for that. We do const merge sort is equals to, this one is taking an array, let's say items, And the first thing we want to do is to divide the array, the items, into two equal halves. And that is why we have first half and second half here. So this is where we are going to use that. This is how to divide it. Const mid. So this is the midpoint. You want to divide it based on the midpoint, right? Is equals to math dot floor to round. In case it has a floating point number, you want to round it down into an integer. So you now do items dot length divided by 2. So that's what we do there. And the next thing we want to do is, now we are going to use this midpoint to divide this array into 2 and keep each part of the array. So we are going to have two sides, the first half and the second half. This one is different from binary search, that we don't even keep the array. We are just only using the midpoint to know where to search. But in this case, we are keeping the array. We are keeping the first part and the second part. We are not throwing it away like we did in binary search. So what we want to do now is const first half is equals to items dot slice. We now put from 0 to midpoint. That means from the first item in this array to the mid, or to the item at the midpoint. So we are picking from the item at the beginning up to the item at the midpoint. So we are saving it inside the first half. That will also be an array like that. And const second half is equals to items dot slice. So this will start from the midpoint up to the end of the array. It will be item dot length up to the end of the array. So let's see if it is working. Okay, we can just do console.log. I want to see if they are working so that I will not waste our time. First half, and let's check that one. So let's call the function and pass an array to it. Just say merge sort equals to items. We have defined items already, so let's hide this one so that it will not affect what we want to check. So let's check it. Boom! Can you see that? That is the first half from the beginning to the midpoint. And let's check another one, and the second half. Let's go for the second half. And let's see if it takes it properly. Boom! Can you see that from 3 to 9 to 7? That is it. So if you check the item array, you should see that. You see that? So you are able to do it from here to here. So we are able to do that. That one is working as we want it. So now, what we want to do here is that we want to divide these items step by step until we have just one item in an array. This is what I mean. Let's say you have the array up, right? You first divide it into 2. Right? First step, we divide it into 2. Let's say we have a 2, 3, 4. We first divide it into 2 like that, right? So this is the first one, and the second one will be this 4, 5, 7. So we have 2 array like that. Then we still divide them into 2 again. You know, this one will be divided into 2 and this one will be divided into 2. Let's assume this one is divided to 2, right? And then 3, 4. So, and this one will also be divided into 2. Let's say 4 and 5 and 7, right? You know, this one is already 1. We want to make them 1. So this last step, so this one will be 2, right? And this one will also be divided into 2. It will now be 3, and we also have 4, we have 5, and we have 7. So 7. So you can see that we have broken it down from here into just one, 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 one. And that is what we want to do here. And that is why we want to use recursion to do that step by step, because that is how recursion work. It will be breaking it into two equal half, two equal half, two equal half until it gets to just the final item. So, and this is what we want to do now. Let's do it with recursion. I will explain that later. So now we want to now do const sorted first half is equals to merge sort, right? And we pass first half into it. Wow, how will this one work? You know that if the function is coming from here to here to here to here and it gets here, right? So this function, it means it will run, we are calling this function again, right? And everything here will be run again, right? It means that this first half will also be divided into two, another two first half, right? Do you get that? So if the item in the another one that is still created, maybe it's still more than two items, right? Is to still call this function again until the item is like there's nothing in the item again. So that reminds me of something. We should put something here that if this items dot length is less than two, then we want to return the item itself, because uh you just want to return the item itself. Like just return the items if it is less than two. Why are we doing that? Because you are looking for just an item. So if it is less than two already, it means that it is just an element. So there is no need to arrange an item, right? There is no need to arrange it. It's just one item. So we don't have to arrange it. And if it is empty, we don't have to arrange it. There is nothing to arrange. So that is why we do this. We return the item itself. So by the time it is less than two. So so after I have written this, then let me explain this part again. By the time the function is coming from here, 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 right? It would have created this one. It would have created this one. Then it will get here. Then it will call this function again inside here. And that means this first half will be divided into another first half and second half, right? So, and by the time it runs inside that one too, it will still create another first half and second half again until the item in each of the array is not up to two again. Like I explained with the other time with this. Can you see that it will split it up till it is just one, everything in each of the array is one, then it will stop. So that is why we put this one here. So if it is less than two, then return the item itself. So this one is less than two, it will return it here. It will return it because there is nothing to arrange. There is nothing in it again. And this one, it will still break it, right? Then it will return two and four and something. This one will return, we have two, four here. We don't have to remove it. So you see that until the item in each of the array is one, then it will still calling the function, and that is what this one is doing. It will be calling this function on whatever is inside here, inside of this one, inside until the item in each of the array is less than two. Maybe it is one or empty. So if it doesn't get to that point, then it will not stop. After that one is done, then it will go to we go to another step, sorted second half, and we will do the same thing. Merge sort, you put second half. So let me explain this one too, so that in case you don't get the first explanation, you'll get the second, because they are still the same thing. The function will be running from here to here, right? It will create, it will check whether the item is less than two. If it's not less than two, it will move here. It will create midpoint, right? And after creating midpoint, it will divide this array into two. This is the first part of the array, and this is the second part. Then it will get to this point. It will now call the function on this one again, and everything will be returned here. So that is what happened. So by the time it gets to the sorted, the second one, it will go back, right, and run this function, right? again for this one until the item in each of the array in it is less than 2, like I explained the other time. Let me repeat it. Repetition aids retention. So you can see, let's say the item start from this. This is the first half, this is the second half, right? For the second iteration, let's say the first time it calls the first half, right? It will be divided into this and this, right? This one will now call the match sort on itself again. Then it will divide it to this and this, right? And this one will also call match sort on itself again. It will divide into this and this, right? And this one will call match sort on itself again, but it is the item in it is less than 2, then it will be returned. And this one it's equals to 2, it's not less than 2, then it will call the match sort function on it again, then it will divide it into 2, 1 and 2, right? Do you get that? And this one will call the same thing because it is not less than 2, then it will divide it into 5 and 2. Then the function will stop because the item in each of the array is less than 2. So then it will stop. Then it will continue with every other thing we want it to do. Then after we have done that, the last thing we want to do is to match the sorted first half and the sorted second half. So this one will help us sort the first part, and this one will help us sort the second part. Then we will merge it together. I hope you understand that by dividing it into two and comparing, that is what we are doing. Now let's merge the two together. It will now be, let me remove this one, we don't need it yet. It will now be return, we want to return merge two arrays, right? So we pass the first array sorted first half, and we pass the second array sorted second half. So it should return that. So let's see if it works. We are done with that. Now let's see if it works so that we'll be certain what we have written is working as we expect. Let's check it out and see what happens. Boom! Hooray! Yes, it works. Can you see that? 1, 2, 2, 3, 4, 7, 7, 9. Everything is sorted. If we go back to the code, you will see that you can see 2, 4, 1, 7, 3, 2, 9, 7. The 2, 2, these ones are repeated, and 7, 7 are repeated. For us to know that we actually get it right, let's remove the repetition so that we know that it has arranged them. So let's remove the repetition. Let's remove the repetition and see what happens again. Boom! Can you see that? Yes, it works. Can you see it has arranged them? And that is exactly what we want to happen, and it is happening as we want it. So let's explain it once again so that you will understand what we are talking about. You can see this array here, right? It is not properly arranged, and we want to arrange them in order. So that's what we want to do. So the first thing is that we create a function that merges two arrays. So this is the first half, this is an array, and this is the second half, it's also an array. This is where everything will be put when they are matched. So on this loop, what it's doing is that it's checking whether the first array is not empty and the second half array is not empty. If both of them are not empty, then it compares the first item in the first half. If it is less than the first item in the second half, then it will put that first item in the merged array and remove it from the first half array. But if the condition is not true, let's say the first element or first item in the first half is greater than this first item in the second half, then the first item in the second half will be put in the merged arrays and it will be removed from the second half array. It means that if this condition is true, then we work with first half, we remove the first item in the first half and put it in the merged array. But if the condition is not true, then we have to remove the second item in the second half array and put it inside the merged arrays, right? So, and that is what this part is doing. And we are removing the item from first half and second half array so that we will be reducing the size. and by the time it is empty, the loop will not continue again. And if we don't remove their sizes, then the loop will continue forever, and that's why we are reducing their sizes. We now spread the merge arrays in this new array, and we spread this one and we spread this one. Why are we doing that? This is what we are doing. We know that sometimes the first half array may have many items more than the second half array. For instance, let's say this one has 3 items and this one has 2 items. By the time we pick the first 2 items here, this one will be empty and this one will still have an item. So that means at the third iteration, this loop will stop because both sides must be true if the loop will continue. Then one is empty and the other has one item, right? With that example, first half is still having an item. Are we going to throw it away? No, we cannot throw it away. And that is why we now merge all of them together here. Everything inside the merged array, we spread it here. And if there is anything in first half array, maybe in this case, it's remaining and this one is empty, we spread it here. And if this one is empty, then nothing will be spread, right? And in another case, this one might be remaining and this one may be empty. So this one will be spread. So we are doing that so that that will not happen, as I have explained before. And this is the part that is doing the main job. We are checking if the element in the array is less than 2. If it is less than 2, then we don't need to sort an item or empty item. So we return the array itself. We check the midpoint and we use the midpoint to divide the array into 2 equal halves. So this is the first half and this is the second half. Then we sorted the first half of it. So how do we do that? We are calling this merge sort again on this first half. And what will that one do? What it will do is that it will divide this first half into 2 equal halves too, right? Then each of the halves will also be divided into 2 equal halves again. Each of the halves will also be divided into 2 equal halves until each of the arrays has just an item or is empty. So in that case, it will be less than 2. Then the merge sort will not be working on them again, as I have explained before. Then the last thing we do is that we now merge the 2 arrays together. After they have been sorted, then we merge them together so that they will become an array and we return that, and that is why we are having the result we are having. For the last time, let's add an item into this one to see if it is going to still arrange it. Let's just put 6. So let's see if it will arrange it. For the last time, yes, you can see that it is properly sorted, and that is what we want. And this is the end of this lesson. See you another time. Don't forget, a true Roman never surrender. Bye for now.
Hey! Have you been struggling to learn and build projects with JavaScript? Oh no, you too can code. People like you have been struggling to understand and build projects with JavaScript because you have been learning with the wrong resources that make everything so difficult to learn. And there is nobody to be there for you anytime you are stuck. That is why I have put together my long experience of working with JavaScript, and I also took a year of my life to provide solutions to the problem beginners always face in learning and building projects with JavaScript. Now you can learn with a tested and trusted program that makes use of simple examples and amazing illustrations that make everything so easy to learn. And my team and I will always guide you, mentor you, and always be there for you anytime you are stuck. So, what are you waiting for? Click the link in this post right now to start learning JavaScript the easy way. I will teach you JavaScript to be unstoppable. See you soon.